Hi, this is Daniela Cambone, and welcome back to StansberryInvestor.com. Last year, when most investors were watching their stocks plummet, one Wall Street legend had an unfair advantage that was identifying winning stocks with massive upside, like Riot Blockchain before it shot up 10,000%, Digital Turbine before it shot up 789%, and Overstock before it shot up over 1,000%. This power gauge comes from the legendary Mark Yaxley. And right now you can get a free in-depth look at how his power gauge system works. A way to type in any of the 4,000 different tickers and see exactly where the stock is most likely to go next and in any type of market. Simply go to powergaugetrial.com for your free look. Again, that's powergaugetrial.com for your free look. All right, let's get to our segment today. Hi, this is Daniela Cambone, and welcome back to StansberryResearch.com. We are talking gold today with my guest. He is back. You had a lot of questions, so I had to bring him back on. Please welcome Mark Yaxley. He's the managing director over at Strategic Wealth Preservation, SWP. They are a bullion dealer and storage provider based in the Cayman Islands, but he joins me today from Golden, British Columbia. Mark, always good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Daniela. Excited to be back talking gold right now.
Yes, finally some excitement back in the space. I've said it before. I've known you for over 10 years now. We've covered this market together, and we always get excited when there seems to be a glimmer of hope coming back into this market. And I can feel the excitement in gold and silver. How are you seeing things these days?
Well, definitely feeling the excitement. We're seeing really strong demand from investors on the physical metal side. That's been happening now for about the last 30 days. And it's really nice for me, more importantly than maybe how often the phone rings here at the office. It's really important or really exciting for me to see gold doing exactly what it's meant to do in a challenging market. Its dependability right now, more than anything else, is really on display for investors as they seek safety.
Okay, and I love how you said that. I'm going to pause you right there because I just want to give the folks a preview of what we're going to be talking about. Gold and silver's price market action. But in the latter half, I'm going to get to some viewer questions. Like I said, I had a lot of questions regarding to buying and storing precious metals. And Mark is also going to share some tips if you're interested or thinking about how do I travel with my precious metals. Folks at home might not even know that, hey, you can travel with your gold, silver, but how? So stay tuned for that in the second part. But going back to that point where you said right there, gold was built for this scenario. Gold was built for this moment in time. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you look at the gold charts, Daniela, really when it does well, and not when I say gold, I really mean most precious metals, especially silver, kind of get lumped in with gold. But when does it do well? It does well during challenging periods of time for the rest of the markets, especially the equities markets. More recently, maybe a little bit of the crypto market as well. But when you look kind of back to the last financial crisis, 2008 through 2011, or more recently in 2020, when gold had strong bull runs, it was off the back of a weakening equities market. And right now, we're experiencing that again with the inflation situation happening and the rate increases that the Fed is proposing and should be acting on pretty soon. We're seeing a strong movement in the equities market downward in the last few weeks. And gold has done a great job of providing a hedge to investors who are mostly seeking out gold as a safe haven investment right now. But it's really important. Like, people are always like, why isn't gold doing, why isn't it going up? Why isn't silver going up? It's like, it was designed to go up in these moments, and that's exactly what it's doing. So it's really encouraging to see that.
So you said something about the phones ringing. Can you give us some insights? Is demand up right now?
Demand is up right now. So demand right now in the last 30 days is equal or even a little bit better than what we saw during the peak of the COVID, which was back in like March 2020 through summer of 2020, when people were really panicking. The world economy was slowing down. There was government lockdowns everywhere at that point in time. And the equities market did have a pullback. Gold was up like 30% during that period of time. We're seeing the same type of demand right now in the last 30 days. So a lot of strong physical buying, and I'm sure the ETF numbers will reflect that as well.
Can you share, I know this is proprietary information, but any insights? Like, what are the folks looking at? Is it gold? Is it silver? Is it platinum? Is it palladium? Is it bars? Is it rounds? Do you see any pattern?
Yeah, I mean, with our investors, they're always looking for products that do tend to carry kind of lower premiums. So we sell a lot of bars, obviously, gold and silver. About 80% of the value that we sell at SWP is gold. The other 20% consists mostly of silver and then a little bit of the platinum group metals. But most investors are coming in for larger bars, trying to save a little bit of premium. And if it is coins, it's usually Royal Canadian Mint product, followed by the US Mint afterwards.
Now I know from our offline conversations, we have many. We talk we talk a lot often. Um, And I know that some people will call or stop us and say, I'm thinking about adding cryptocurrencies, or should I sell some gold to get some crypto? And are you hearing the reverse of that now? Or, are some people calling and saying, with this sell off that we're seeing in the cryptocurrencies, are they thinking twice about maybe stepping back in the metals?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We do have clients that obviously own both crypto and precious metals. So they move from one to the other at times. Usually we see that move when crypto has reached a new high. We'll see people selling their Bitcoin and using the proceeds to buy gold to kind of like take their profits and put it into physical metals, which is a little bit less volatile than crypto. So the kind of the reverse is happening maybe right now is we're not seeing a lot of people go from crypto to gold because obviously the crypto price is down. So there a lot of people are probably in the red or kind of waiting to see where the dust is going to settle. But I think it's really interesting, kind of 2 points that come to mind when we talk about gold and Bitcoin and their relationship right now. Two things that jump out to me is number one, look at the volatility in Bitcoin right now. It's really nice when that volatility is to the upside and you get a lot of price appreciation in Bitcoin. And I own Bitcoin and I support Bitcoin totally. But investors have to be aware of that potential downside volatility, which we saw, I think, on Friday. Bitcoin was down 10% in a day. That's something that people really need to be aware of, that it's not always to the upside, to the good side, that there is that potential downside for crypto. And how that relates to gold, more importantly, is that people are often trying to draw comparisons between Bitcoin and gold and saying, well, Bitcoin is like a better store of wealth than gold. And I think these current market conditions are proving otherwise. The volatility that Bitcoin is experiencing actually is proving to me that it is not quite ready to be a true store of wealth, because you need something that is less volatile, that is more predictable, more dependable in a market like this. And I think gold is still has the reins right now in terms of wealth preservation.
I want to get to some of those viewer questions, if you don't mind, Mark.
Sure.
Right now, this one came up a lot. This one was sent in from Eric Parker, who says, "Why am I offered below spot if I need to sell?" So a lot of selling questions came up here. I completely understand the shop needs to make money, but less than spot is not right. Thoughts on
Mm.
that?
That's a really good question. And especially now, people are selling into a hot market. So they're expecting to receive better buyback prices. And I think Eric has a good point. He doesn't necessarily have to accept the bid that his local dealer is offering him. If he doesn't feel it's fair, he can definitely go online and shop around to see what other buyback prices look like if he's not, happy to get less than spot. But the reality is basically whatever you're being offered by your dealer is based on their demand for your product. And if they really, really need it, for example, if it's silver maples or gold maples or silver eagles or gold maples, chances are they will pay you above the spot price to get your product. If they're paying you below spot, it's because they probably aren't too fond of what you're selling, or they don't need it so badly that they can turn around and sell it immediately. So he might want to shop somewhere else, shop
I
his
like
product somewhere
that.
else.
So certain coins are wanted more from the dealer. So you mentioned the maples. That's a hot one.
Yeah, exactly. In our world, it's all about flipping that product. So how quickly and for how much can I sell the product that Eric is selling to me? That's really the question that the dealer is asking themselves. And they're going to base their bids around that. So yeah, to
I
answer your
like that.
question, some coins like the Eagles, like the Maples, I mean, there's more out there, but those are coins that have a good resale value because
I
the
like
dealer can
that.
flip them.
Yeah, I like how you're giving us the insights from the dealer's point of view, which helps with your negotiation. So this one came from Von Baum Bauerk. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. Question about professional vaulting and insurance. It's an important topic that's rarely addressed. Can you comment on professional vaulting and insurance when it comes to your metals?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad topic, Danielle. As you know, we're in the vaulting business, so it's something that we talk to our clients about all the time. But I think, like, at a high level, number one question is, when do I consider professional vaulting services? My answer to people is, as soon as you start losing sleep at night because you're worried about having your precious metals either at home
Yeah.
or in a bank that's non-insured, in a bank safe deposit box that's not insured, you need to consider professional vaulting service, because the cost is really minimal compared to the stress that it will alleviate in your life to have it in a professional facility. And to his point, the number one advantage of having your metal in a professional vaulting situation, aside from the physical security, is the insurance. It's going to be fully insured for its full replacement value, which is not the case at home and is not the case at your local bank in a safe deposit box.
And I like how you stressed not insured in a bank. So meaning if the bank burns down or something happens to your gold at the bank, is it gonzo?
It's gonzo. In of all the terms and conditions I've read over my career that related to safe deposit boxes in banks, they do not insure the contents of those safe deposit boxes. And we know, it's well documented, banks have a distaste for precious metals in general. So yeah, you might want to consider a facility that's built specifically for that.
Read the fine print. Read the fine print.
Always.
Okay. This is such a popular question. I know the guys, the folks love this one. How to determine that the metal isn't fake?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's an important question too. So what I answer to this question, number one, always buy from a reputable source. By buying from a reputable source, so a dealer that's been around a long time, that is buying their material directly from the mints or refineries, or is a primary distributor of those mints or refineries. Once you have a good source, you're going to alleviate like 99% of that concern right away, because you know that the supply chain that you're getting it from is a good one. Beyond that, you can buy testing equipment. There's some testing kits that measure the reaction of the metal to electricity. They measure the reaction of the metal to magnetism. Obviously, you can weigh them. You can do density tests. There's a lot of things online that you can buy, starting at about $200 all the way up to about $1,000 if you want to test your own metal. Otherwise, you can always outsource that responsibility to a company like SWP or others that will charge you a fee to do the testing for you. So you have to conduct these tests, but start by buying from a reputable source that will alleviate most of the problems.
Step one. Okay. Why does everyone ignore rhodium? Seeing the charts, what a killer trade. Rhodium, it's true. I'm a culprit of that as
Absolutely.
well. I'm not ignoring it, but we don't really talk a lot about rhodium. It's the forgotten metal. And
It
what
is. It's the fifth precious metal. So right away, it's sitting at the back of the class. People are not paying attention to it. It's also it's the most expensive precious metal. So right now, to get into rhodium, you're talking about $17,000 an ounce, I think, somewhere around there. So it's a high price point for a lot of people, and it's a price point where it really makes you stop and think, how much do I know about rhodium? What is it used for? Do I understand what I'm investing in? So I think those are the hurdles that people face. But the bottom line is, you can purchase rhodium either in physical form. So there are bars and coins that now exist on the market that allow you to purchase rhodium, or you can also do it through different funds or even stocks. So there is the ability to get access to rhodium, where in the past it was very, very difficult if you were a Main Street investor to do so. But one thing to be aware of when you're buying rhodium is that the spread, we talk about spread often, Daniela, on your program, is very, very wide. So the premium above spot to buy it and the discount below is wider than any precious metal, because it's a little bit illiquid. It's a small market metal. So you need to be aware of that when you're going into that trade.
Very, very good point. And, you also bring up platinum and palladium, which are not as forgotten about rhodium, but I know you bring that up to your clients and get them thinking about platinum and palladium in addition to gold and silver.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you want to be well diversified, that's one of the reasons that you add precious metals to your overall portfolio. And then taking that one step further, if you want to be well diversified amongst the precious metals, you need to think about the platinum group metals, platinum, palladium, and rhodium. And platinum and palladium, people have been asking me about them for a while now. Some of our clients that own all these metals, and they're like, is it a good time to get back into palladium? If you look at it, it was up over $3,000 an ounce pre-COVID. It's trading about $2,000 an ounce right now. It's kind of been sitting in that $2,000 range for quite some time. But the good news is, once the world economy really starts to recover and the global auto industry really starts to recover post-pandemic, which we're starting to see the early signs of now, you can expect the palladium price to appreciate back up towards $3,000 an ounce, because more people will be buying cars again, especially in emerging markets. So I fully expect the palladium and platinum group prices to start to appreciate again, especially if it's riding off the back of a gold bull market. There'll be some speculative appreciation there as well.
Good thoughts there, Mark. Before we pivot to traveling with your precious metals, I'm just going to lump in all the questions I got about geographical diversification and how important is it to think about this when you're buying precious metals? Is it something to think about being
Again,
outside of the country you're based in?
Yeah, it's kind of like the storage question earlier. Is as soon as you start to lose sleep over the safety or security or privacy concerns that you have about your metals in one specific jurisdiction, as soon as that becomes a point of like stress in your life, then you're going to want to consider potentially mitigating that risk by diversifying into another jurisdiction. So until that moment in time, I don't think you necessarily have to worry about it too much. Obviously, if you're holding all of your eggs in one jurisdiction, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in precious metals in one place, you are positioning yourself for some risk at that point, even if you're not losing sleep over it. But it's really when you reach those points that you have to start thinking, okay, I'm going to diversify just as a risk mitigation solution, basically. And that's when you start looking at offshore jurisdictions outside of the US or Canada, like Zurich, Singapore, Cayman, New Zealand. Those are all places that you could consider as second or third homes for your precious metals.
All right, let's talk now traveling with precious metals. This is a big one because I think a lot of folks don't even know they can travel with their gold and silver, or maybe they get to the airport or to the customs agent and they panic because they have precious metals. So, talk to us, give us a primer here on, can you travel with your gold and silver first and foremost, or platinum and palladium, or whatever metals you have?
Yeah, first and foremost, that's the most important thing is most people don't know it's completely legal to travel with precious metals. It's considered under the law, it's considered personal property. So it's the same as you traveling with a very nice piece of jewelry, for example. It falls under the same category. Nobody has title to that personal property except for you. So you can bring that personal property wherever you like in the world. I think it really boils down more to people being nervous about the whole experience. And that's where we try to kind of walk them through what's actually going to happen, not what they panic about and what could happen. It's like, okay, here's what actually happens at the airport or at the border. And these are the things you need to know.
So just before we go one step further, it doesn't matter the amount or value? There's no cap?
In theory, there's no cap. So let's say you had a briefcase full of gold bars, $1 million worth of gold bars. Yeah. Can you bring that with you? Absolutely. Yes, you can. You're totally entitled. Just like you can bring cash across the border as well. But what's going to happen is when you enter that country, now we use like those touch screens. When you get to the airports, or some countries, it's still the pen and paper form that you fill out. There's always a threshold for declarations of cash or cash equivalents. In some countries, they name precious metals specifically, in others they don't. But what you're getting at is, yes, you should declare that $1 million worth of gold in your briefcase on that declaration form. As long as you do that, you're complying with the law. If you don't declare it, that's when you're in trouble, because if they happen to open your briefcase and like, sir, you didn't declare this $1 million worth of gold, what's the story? That's when you've opened a can of worms with the customs agents.
Okay, so it is legal, declare it. I guess people may panic because they're thinking, let's use your example of $1 million of gold in a briefcase. It may raise a few eyebrows if I tell the agent, yeah, I have this briefcase full of shiny, beautiful gold bars worth over $1 million. They're going to think, well, what does this person do? And it's going to just open a can of worms.
Exactly. And that's really the part where people get nervous and uncomfortable. And that's where they have to remember to take control of the situation. Number one, it's legal. So you're within your legal rights to carry this personal property into another country and out of your own country. So two things are going to happen. Number one, when you leave your country, if we're talking about airplanes, you're going to go through security. When your briefcase, it should be your handheld, obviously, you're going to take this with you on the plane. When it goes on the belt, it's going to be picked up as a very dense material. So it comes up as a black hole, basically. It looks like a black hole on the machine. Immediately, security is going to want to talk to you about that. So be prepared that you're going to have a conversation ahead of time, not hoping that you're not, you are. So you want to take control and be like, look, can we go into that secondary room so I can have some privacy and explain to you what this is and why I have it? And by taking control of the situation, you're in a much better position than if you're on the defensive, you're panicking, you're nervous, you're trying to cover your tracks. You don't want to do any of those things.
So the worst case is you might miss your flight because they might ask you a lot of questions.
Exactly. So you want to know, okay, I'm going to go 15, 30 minutes to the airport earlier because I am going to be stopped and asked what's in my briefcase when I go through security. And the same is true when you get to your destination and you go through customs and you filled out your form correctly, you've declared the amount of precious metals that you're holding, or they're going to ask you a few more questions, maybe even take you into a secondary search upon arrival. But again, if you're calm, cool, and collected, and you know your rights, and you know you're not doing anything illegal, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to leave the airport with your gold. You're going to be on your way. But yes, you're going to have to answer some questions.
Those are really good, really good insights. And I like that. So give yourself extra time if you are planning on traveling with your precious metals. I don't know if you remember this, but I actually lived that experience with you years ago. I saw the whole thing happen. You were traveling with precious metals, and I remember they stopped you, they asked you questions, but you got on the flight with me, everything was fine. So you are proof that you can travel with precious metals.
I've been through it many times, actually, Danielle, in my life. I've tested the system. I'm curious now. I'm like, what's going to happen when I declare more than 10,000 into the US? I've done that at New York at JFK, a major hub for travelers. And I was a little bit nervous when they pulled me into the secondary. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, they just want to know why you have it. What purpose does it serve? They might ask you, where did you get it from? How long have you owned it? Things like that. But as long as you have legitimate answers for all those questions, you're going to be absolutely fine. It's as soon as you start to panic and hesitate and act strange that it tips off the customs guys.
There you go. Mark Yaxley tested the system for you folks, so you don't have to. I appreciate all those insights. Any final thoughts for our viewers watching? Can you tell us any products right now that seem really hot or popular?
Hey, look, gold and silver in general are really hot and popular right now. So if you're sitting on the fence and you're like, is it the right time to finally invest in gold and silver? This is a moment in time you're strongly going to want to think about it, because if things continue, if the equity market pullback continues the way we expect it will, gold and silver are probably going to be rising to balance out those losses. And you're going to want to be in that market before it continues upwards.
There you go, folks. Mark Yaxley. And before I let you go, you actually, if people want more information about traveling with precious metals, Mark has segments, videos that go into extreme detail about traveling with precious metals on his show Inside the Vault. So that's one thing I wanted to add. Mark, thank you for all that wealth of information you've brought to us. We'll have you back on soon.
Thanks, Danielle. Always a pleasure being here.
And thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please stay tuned to stansberryresearch.com. We'll have much more for you. And don't forget to sign up for access to content you can't get anywhere else at danielacambone.com. That's it for me. Thanks for watching.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.